So imagine you are sitting in your living room staring at your television,
Okay.
but the screen is like split right down the middle.
Right.
On the left side, you're watching a family sitting around their kitchen table late at night. They've got this huge stack of bills in front of them, and they are literally sweating,
Oh, yeah.
just trying to figure out how to pay for groceries, keep the lights on, and somehow cover, an unexpected medical expense.
Sounds incredibly stressful.
It is. And then you glance over to the right side of that exact same screen,
Yeah.
and you're watching a live feed of a stock ticker.
Completely different world.
Totally. Just tracking hundreds of millions of dollars moving through the global financial system in this frantic blur of high-speed corporate securities trades.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an incredibly jarring visual. You are looking at two completely different realities happening at the exact same moment in the exact same country.
It creates this immediate sense of vertigo
Yeah.
almost. And that tension, that specific, really uncomfortable friction between those two realities, that's the entire structural foundation of the material we are unpacking today.
Which brings us to today's topic. Welcome to today's deep dive. It's June 2026, and we are focusing on a single highly charged source today.
We are.
It's an opinion piece by Eric Reinhardt, and it's titled The Split Screen, American Strain and Elite Prosperity.
And it is quite a read.
It really is. Now, I want to emphasize to you listening right up front, because this article touches on some pretty politically sensitive themes regarding the economy, and specifically Donald Trump. We are impartially reporting on the author's arguments here.
Exactly. We aren't taking any political sides.
Right. Our goal is simply to understand the ideas contained in the text. We just want to deconstruct how a writer takes two totally distinct sets of modern economic data, strips away the traditional talking points, and, uses them to build this massive, passionate political appeal.
The mechanics of what he's doing are just fascinating.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the split screen analogy he uses is so weaponized.
It really is. And Reinhardt isn't just listing statistics here, He is engineering a narrative.
Right.
He relies heavily on the idea that standard macroeconomic metrics, the stuff we usually hear about, have completely detached from the lived experience of the average citizen.
Yeah, totally disconnected.
And to make that case, he doesn't start with, high-level political theory.
No, she goes right for the gut.
Exactly. He grounds the reader immediately in the dirt and the grit of this recent Edward Jones Gallup survey.
Man, I had to read the numbers on that survey twice. I really did.
They're pretty stark.
According to the data, only 16%, literally 1 in 6 Americans feels financially fulfilled.
1 in 6.
I mean, we hear all the time on the news that the economy is supposedly, strong or recovering, but if only 1 in 6 people actually feel okay, the metric we are using to define recovery just seems fundamentally broken.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we really need to look at the why behind that disconnect.
Right. Why the massive gap?
Often, economists and politicians, they'll point to GDP growth or a booming stock market index or low unemployment rates to just declare victory.
Sure, the classic charts.
Right. But GDP just measures the total value of goods and services produced. It doesn't actually tell you how the pie is being distributed.
Oh, that makes sense.
So if corporate profits are soaring, but inflation has outpaced real wage growth over a few years, the overall economy grows on paper, sure.
But the individual's purchasing power is shrinking.
Precisely. Reinhardt is arguing that an economy cannot be considered healthy or strong if the people operating the machinery of that economy are drowning.
Okay, but I do want to push back on one piece of that Gallup poll, though.
Sure.
Is measuring something like financial fulfillment a bit too subjective to anchor an argument on? I mean, fulfillment is kind of a squishy word.
It's a bit vague, yeah.
What fulfills someone making $50,000 might be totally different from someone making $500,000. Does relying on a feeling weaken his premise?
That's a fair point. Fulfillment alone would be a bit flimsy. But Reinhardt doesn't just leave it hanging there.
Okay.
He pairs that subjective feeling with the brutal objective reality of the rest of the survey data.
The other numbers, yeah.
Right. So roughly a third of Americans say they're under active financial stress.
Wow.
And a record 55% say their financial situation is actively getting worse.
Yeah.
And they specifically say rising prices are directly hurting their standard of living.
55%, more than half.
Yep. And here is the real anchor. 41% of people are worried about paying normal, basic monthly bills.
Okay, see, to me, that 41% figure is the glaring red flag.
Absolutely.
That isn't about, like, skipping a summer vacation.
Right.
That is pure survival mechanics. We're talking groceries, rent, utilities.
The basics.
It makes me think of flying a plane, right? Where the dashboard instrument, the macro data say you are gaining altitude and everything is fine.
Right.
But you look out the window, which is the lived reality, and the trees are getting dangerously close.
That's a great analogy. Reinhardt actually called this the House of Cards in his piece.
The House of Cards, right.
He paints a picture of millions of people living in absolute terror, that just one unexpected expense is going to knock the whole structure down.
And the psychology of that fragility must be exhausting.
Oh, it's crucial to his argument. It's the gnawing worry that a blown tire on your commuter car or a single trip to the urgent care clinic for a sprained ankle could financially ruin your month or even your entire year.
It's terrifying.
Reinhardt is translating abstract survey percentages into kitchen table anxiety. He establishes the emotional stakes by making the reader actually feel the tightness of that paycheck.
And that daily fragility, that constant low-level hum of anxiety over, like, a $50 increase in a utility bill is exactly why the next data set he introduces feels so violently jarring.
It's a hard pivot.
A massive pivot, because once he has you sitting at that kitchen table, literally sweating over the electric bill, he forces us to look at the right side of the split screen.
The elite prosperity side.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting. He doesn't just point to a random billionaire or some abstract, faceless corporation.
No, he gets very specific.
He deliberately targets the first quarter 2026 financial disclosures of Donald Trump.
And this is where the scale of the argument shifts completely from the microscopic to the macroscopic.
Yeah, totally.
Just to give some context for you listening, a financial disclosure is a mandatory public report filed by certain political figures and candidates.
Right.
It outlines their income, their assets, and their transactions. It's really designed to provide transparency into potential conflicts of interest.
But the numbers in this specific Q1 disclosure, they are almost hard to wrap your head around.
They're staggering.
Reinhardt notes transactions totaling at least $220 million, with reporting suggesting the upper range could be as high as roughly $750 million.
In one quarter.
90 days. And honestly, what really caught my eye wasn't even the dollar amount. It was the volume.
The number of trades.
Yes. Over 3,700 individual trades involving major corporate and tech securities in that tiny 3-month window.
Let's break down the mechanics of 3,700 trades because it's wild.
Please do.
The average retail investor, a normal person with a 401k or a retirement account, might rebalance their portfolio a few times a year.
Right. Maybe they buy a stock here, sell a mutual fund there.
Exactly. Executing 3,700 trades in a single quarter means a machine or a highly active wealth management entity is executing something like 40 major financial transactions every single day.
Oh my God.
Including weekends.
I'm just trying to visualize that volume. It's like the difference between someone carefully measuring out single drops of water just to survive a historic drought.
Right.
While on the other side of the fence, someone is running a massive, fully automated hydroelectric dam.
That's exactly it.
It's a completely different relationship with the resource itself. But why does Reinhardt lean so heavily on the number of trades, rather than just hammering that $750 million figure over and over?
Because the sheer volume highlights the velocity of modern wealth generation at the elite level.
The velocity.
Right. It illustrates algorithmic trading, tax loss harvesting, institutional wealth management.
All that stuff.
Concepts that are entirely alien to a household that's just trying to scrape together cash for a medical bill.
Oh, so true.
Reinhardt highlights this, along with the major income tied to the broader Trump business empire during this same era, to demonstrate that elite prosperity isn't just like a pile of gold sitting in a vault.
Like Scrooge McDuck or something.
Right, exactly. It is a highly active, aggressive, continuous machine.
And it creates this profound psychological disconnect.
Absolutely.
You are forcing the reader to hold two drastically different concepts of money in their minds simultaneously. To the family in the Gallup poll, money is a terrifyingly scarce resource.
Yes.
But to the entities executing 3,700 trades, money is just a fluid abstraction moving in fractions of a second across corporate securities.
And that is the rhetorical weapon Reinhardt is forging here.
A weapon.
Yeah, because the human brain actually struggles to comprehend the mathematical difference between thousands of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars.
We just can't picture it.
We can't.
Yeah.
So by placing these two specific realities side by side, he bypasses the math completely and hits the emotion.
Oh, that's clever.
He argues that the world operating in the sphere of high frequency, hundreds of millions, cannot possibly comprehend the world operating in the sphere of the Edward Jones Gallup survey.
Different universes.
Entirely.
Okay, so the two screens are clearly defined, the household strain versus the automated prosperity machine.
Right.
But Reinhart doesn't just drop these statistics on the page and walk away. He clearly has a destination in mind. So what does this all mean? How does he synthesize these two realities?
This raises an important question about how economic data is utilized in political media.
Okay.
He transitions from just data reporting to direct political advocacy by introducing a psychological framing. He introduces the concept of the insult.
The insult. He really leans into that word.
He does. He argues that this split screen isn't just some unfortunate economic byproduct. He frames it as a profound moral and political failure.
He writes about how insulting it is for the public to be constantly told to be patient, right?
Yes.
To be disciplined, to tighten their belts. He points out the absurdity of leaders expecting the public to just ignore the rising costs of food, housing, and insurance, and just quietly accept less purchasing power and less security.
And take that a step further, because the specific language he uses really reveals his strategy.
What does he say?
He uses the phrase, less dignity.
Ah, less dignity.
That moves the conversation way beyond inflation rates and bond yields. He is talking about human worth now.
Right.
When people are working 50 hours a week and still have to choose between buying their blood pressure medication or paying the rent,
It's degrading.
it strips them of their dignity.
Yeah.
Reinhart is identifying a phenomenon that sociologists often talk about, which is the gaslighting effect of economic messaging.
Oh, I know what you mean. The idea that being told the economy is doing great while you are personally drowning makes the suffering feel infinitely worse.
Precisely. It invalidates their lived experience.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you are struggling and the TV says the economy is bad, you feel some solidarity.
We're all in this together.
Right. But if you are struggling and the TV says the stock market is at a record high and the economy is roaring, you feel isolated, abandoned, and eventually
Insulted.
Reinhart channels that widespread anxiety from the 55% of people feeling worse off, and he gives it a highly specific, very visible target.
Elite wealth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Elite wealth, symbolized by those massive Q1 disclosures.
He's aiming that frustration. Like, he explicitly states that an economy is clearly not built for the people if seniors are choosing between medicine and food.
Or families are praying their car keeps running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He refuses to accept any other metric of success. Which brings us to his ultimate conclusion. The final paragraphs of this piece, they read like a direct instruction manual.
They really do. He builds the tension so tightly throughout the piece that it requires a release valve.
Right.
And he provides one in the form of a direct call to action.
He urges the reader to pick up the phone. Call your congresspersons, call your senators. Tell them working families aren't props.
Demand change.
Yeah. Tell them you see the split screen and demand that the country stop serving the rich while the rest drown. It is a sudden, really visceral escalation. He isn't just venting anymore.
No, he's trying to mobilize an electorate.
Yeah.
The mechanics of political mobilization require exactly this kind of structure. You have to make the abstract personal.
Which he does with the kitchen table anxieties.
Right, then you have to make the personal political.
By framing the struggle as an insult perpetuated by the elite.
Exactly. And finally, you have to make the political actionable.
The phone call to Congress.
You got it. He takes the disorganized, ambient stress of millions of people and attempts to forge it into focused legislative pressure.
It is a fascinating reminder of why dissecting these arguments matters so much.
It really is.
Whether you personally feel that financial squeeze at the grocery store checkout line, and statistically a lot of you listening probably do,
Yep.
or whether you are just someone trying to navigate a media landscape that is constantly trying to capture your attention and your outrage.
Understanding the architecture of persuasion is essential critical thinking.
Absolutely.
When you encounter a piece of political writing, you need the tools to separate the underlying data from the narrative being woven around it.
Right, like why did the author pair this specific Gallup poll with this specific financial disclosure?
How are they trying to direct my natural, valid frustrations?
Engaging with media on your own terms means recognizing when someone is trying to use your anxiety as an engine for their political vehicle.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, the Gallup data is a sobering reality. The financial disclosures are a factual record. But the friction between them, the heat generated by slamming them together on that split screen.
That is entirely by design. And it forces us to confront the severe limitations of how our institutions measure success.
Yeah.
If the metrics used by the powerful are structurally blind to the suffering of the majority, then the policies based on those metrics will just continue to widen the gap.
And that leads to a thought we really want to leave you with today. Reinhardt fundamentally rejects the economist's chart.
He really does.
He refuses the idea that a high GDP or a soaring stock index means the country is actually doing well if the people are buckling. So think about this. If traditional macroeconomic data says an economy is booming, but the daily lived experience of the citizens says the exact opposite.
What happens?
Yeah, what happens to a society when the map no longer matches the territory? How long can a system survive when the metrics used by its leaders become completely detached from the reality of the people they actually govern?
Scary thought.
How do we measure the true health of a nation when both sides of that split screen are happening at the exact same time?
That is the ultimate tension. It's like when the dashboard says you're flying high, but the people in the back can see the ground rushing up to meet them.
Perfectly said. Something to mull over the next time you're standing in the checkout line or, the next time you see a headline celebrating market highs. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been great.
Keep asking questions, keep looking closely at both sides of the screen, and we will catch you next time.